Good morning. Welcome to the live in-person and live Zoom worship service of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside. Our opening hymn this morning is Inch by Inch, the Garden Song by David Mallet. Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you and stand in body or spirit and join us in singing Inch by Inch, the Garden Song. The lyrics will be projected on the slide.
Yeah.
Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down. Inch by inch, row by row, gonna make this garden grow. All it takes is a rake and a hoe and a piece of fertile ground. Inch by inch, row by row, someone bless these seeds I sow. Someone warm them from below till the rain comes tumbling down.
Thank you for joining us here in person, and thank you for joining us remotely by Zoom, where we will continue live streaming and posting these services on our YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. I'm Grace Preuss, a member of the Worship Committee, and I will be your worship associate today. Other members of the Worship Committee that make this service possible include Alec Peck, our music coordinator, Adam Wedeking, who will be monitoring our visual and online connections today, and Kate Lewicki, who is in charge of our sound system. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open mind and an open heart, and with muted electronic devices, please. We know that you come here for different reasons: to find community, to seek your spiritual and personal truths, to question and nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find the answers to some of your bigger questions. Whatever reasons brought you here today, we're glad you joined us. Before we move into the service, there are a few announcements we would like to share. We will mention several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all of this information, and it is also available on our website. The board meeting. The next board meeting will be held this Wednesday, August 16th at 4:30 p.m. The service time changed. Sunday services will return to 10 a.m. in September. Please put that on your calendars. And now I invite you to sit back and take a slow, deep breath as we move into the worship hour. You are welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Today's speaker is UUCR member Bill Casey. Bill Casey tries to draw from a number of theistic and philosophical points of view. While this does not always produce an orderly methodology, He takes comfort in the patchwork utility it tends to provide. Bill notes with amusement, if only brevity were included. Originally from Colorado, Bill lives a short distance from UUCR. He has been a member of UUCR for some years now and has been active in the choir and the worship committee. Today's sermon is entitled Spiritual Duct Tape. Humans often tend to seek perfection. Good luck with that. Now that we have accepted that we live in an imperfect world, we can contemplate imperfect solutions to the challenges that we all face. Duct tape has a light side and a dark side, and it holds the universe together. We spend a lot of time looking for the perfect solution, but sometimes we may need to use an imperfect one that may just hold it together. We have two lightings of sacred flames. The first one is the occupied Indigenous Peoples Remembrance Candle. The second is the lighting of our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We walk upon the traditional territories of diverse and sovereign peoples, the original people of this land, who continue to cry out for justice and self-determination. This spot we occupy was first the sacred place of several groups of Indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Cupeño, and the Serrano. We, the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside, light this sacred flame as the stewards of this sacred and holy place. We are blessed with a space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be a part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Now for our reading of the chalice lighting. The chalice lighting is The Light is the Same by Rumi. The lamps are different, but the light is the same. One matter, one energy, one light mind, endlessly emanating all things. One turning and burning diamond, one. Ground yourself, strip yourself down to blind, loving silence. Stay there until you see you are gazing at the light with its own ageless eyes. Thank you, Alec. The next portion is greeting our guests. We have a tradition at UUCR to welcome those who are visitors or perhaps returning after some time away. We know it can be uncomfortable to stand up and speak in front of others, and so now I will ask for a volunteer from someone who has been here a while to tell us your name and how you found out about our church. We ask you to step close to the mic and speak into it directly and clearly so that everyone can hear. Please be aware that you'll be visible on our Zoom camera and in the recording of this service, which is posted online. Do we have any church members today who would like to volunteer for us? Alec? Thank you, Alec.
Hi, morning, everyone. I'm Alec, and I've been here for a few years since I moved here from Illinois, where I didn't move directly from Illinois, but that's where I grew up. I was raised as UU, and when I came here, I searched online for this church, and I've been having a great time being heavily involved since then. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. Thank you, and that's how it's done. So if you are new here, a visitor, or an old friend, please raise your hand to stand up and come up to the mic in front of the pulpit. Do we have any volunteers today? Okay. If there is someone online who would like to introduce themselves, please raise your hand and we will call on you by Zoom. Please let us know who you are, where you are from, and how you found out about us. For any other new guests, please join us for socializing and coffee hour after the service. We'd love to chat with you out in the parish hall, where you can also find our visitors book. Please leave your name before you leave so that we know you are here, and leave your contact information if you'd like to know about upcoming events. For those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. Our hymn now is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, from the Teal hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, and stand in body or spirit and join us in singing number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. This portion of our service is to support our beloved historical church. This can be accomplished in several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may contribute by PayPal using the QR code, which is shown here, as well as on the church website and in our newsletter. Stater Brothers Market gives our church a rebate on Stater grocery cards, which we will have in church each Sunday. Amazon gift cards are also available. You get the full value of your purchase, and the church also receives a percentage for free. Please see Dinah Rowe or Robert Brown in the church office if you are interested in purchasing the gift cards. Please donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity. And to those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. Will our ushers now please come forward to receive the collection? A bag will also be available to collect food and hygiene items for those in need. Thank you. Our next hymn is number 402, From You I Receive, from the Gray Hymnal. Feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you and stand in body or spirit, and join us in singing number 402, From You I Receive.
From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, from this we live. From you I receive,
Our meditation today is by Maya Angelou. Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. Now let us pause for a moment of silence and reflection. Now, I would like to introduce Bill Casey speaking to us on spiritual duct tape. Bill?
Spiritual duct tape. As Universalist Unitarians, you know that we are going to borrow things, import meanings, fuse ideas together, look for contrasts, similarities, underlying themes, all of that good stuff. But first, a few words about duct tape proper. Then I'm going to attempt to move this onto a spiritual mental point of view, which is kind of what you expect from a guy talking in from a pulpit. Now, duct tape itself has a pretty good history. Generally, it is a tough, water-resistant tape built like a fabric with a strong, sticky side, and you don't always need scissors to rip it. One of its champions, a Miss Vesta Stout, actually talked to President Roosevelt about its attributes concerning certain types of ammunition boxes. FDR agreed it was important and should be fast-tracked, and was a nice little support for the Revolite Company in the war effort at World War II. Later in its career, something called the Red-Green Show got a hold of it, and they went nuts. They learned how to build canoes, rafts, a different type of boat, sandals, a chess set. And my favorite is probably when they took all of the flexible parts of a medieval trebuchet, a form of big catapult, the kind with a big lobbing arm that could throw a rock or a Chevy 1,000, 10,000 feet. That's what they did. The stuff is amazing. And it's lovely stuff. And I always like the idea of it because I like to be dexterous. I like to be smooth. I like to be slick. And I am none of those things. I'd like to be precise too, as long as we're talking about that. Not there yet. There's gray in my beard, more gray than not. And no, I am not fast and slick, nor am I meticulous. But as they say, you always want what you don't have, right? So I thought, hey, let's make it into a metaphor for spiritual practice. I thought I was being creative, and they've actually tackled this subject more than once in different churches and so on. And if I get time, I'll go into the details on that. Now, the next stage of defining the spiritual duct tape is to work on definitions. Spiritual duct tape is a kind of method or a mental outlook that helps a person define and operate on spiritual subjects. Scripture or coded systems of ethics and behavior can be very precise, but they're not always compassionate. The episode with Lot's wife, the flood, there are just a number of things that are the Jim Crow laws, if you want to look at them, very precise, but not very kind. I wanted something that was the reverse, kind and sweat the details later. Duct tape may miss a spot here and there, but it strives to make sure that the main points are taken care of. As the Rolling Stones would say, you can't always get what you want, but mostly you get what you need. And now I have about 3 basic definitions for duct tape, spiritual duct tape: bundling, radiant, and temporal. If you're going to work with bundling duct tape, you can wind up looking at certain principles and grouping them together. And you do this for the reason of advancing those qualities upwards, so to the betterment of humans. And you do it to avoid damaging them. Take a look at what we have over here at our first 4 cuts on the wall here. We tend to go for a nesting approach on something like this. This leads to that, leads to that, leads to that. So we use that approach, a linear approach. Whereas the spiritual duct tape says, we're all people. We're all good enough to be here. That means we're not going to hide around on fussy meanings, black, white, Jewish, gay, straight. We're going to bundle all up as people. And as people, we should do each other good, should not do each other ill, that we should take care of each other, and that as one bundle if you do it right, clot if you're not really good with the tape, but we're together. And there's no cheap little way to get at the to pick it apart, that we wind up being good to each other because we're all bundled together. There is as I said, there's a protective element to it. You couldn't really have a tape that doesn't have any protective or sealing element to it. You will not oppress them, these people, because they have value. You will do them good because they have value. And if you happen to be a humanist, then you will take care of that instead of the infinite, the divine. One way or the other, this gets taken care of. Now, it's a neat form. Bundling is a neat form of work, but it is not the only one. Next comes what I call radiant duct tape, and it's probably my favorite. Radiant duct tape is taking an idea that covers a good moral principle, and it extends it outward from where it started. It sweeps, it grows, it engages, and it logically connects a good idea to further actions and good ideas, and it enhances them from the radiant source. Like bundling, it can be used from a deistic or a humanistic, agnostic, and so on position. How does it work? Like this. Now, some years ago, we Unitarians had a General Assembly. Our theme that year was living from abundance. And it really moved me, and I don't think I ever forgot it. If we are living from abundance, we are reminded that the universe, galaxies burning like confetti scattered across spaces, our mind buckles to comprehend. The universe is not running out of power. The dude in the window there had power enough to grow plants with a few million petals on them. The universe has got power enough to take care of us. You're not going to run out of power. So if you're not going to run out of power, then you can go on about the business of being good to each other. You don't give up. Not on people, not on people we consider ourselves close to, not on acquaintances, not on those we might consider ourselves in conflict with, not the guys who watch Fox News everywhere. Is it a pain? You betcha. Is it hard to arrange? You betcha. But you don't give up. As a human, you're going to give up once in a while, but you're going to regroup as soon as you get the power to. Duct tape is not, spiritual duct tape is not about having the perfect answer. It is not the full part of problem solving in a spiritual basis. It is a partial. And you honor that partial as the thing you need to do to get the problem beat down so that you can get the precise parts put into place later on. But that's something you sort of do in shop maintenance as opposed to on the road. If you're going to, again, if you're going to bundle, if bundling gives you a good bunch that you can take care of so that you don't have, so that you're not hiding from, you're not sitting here going, well, I can only take care of Blacks or women. I've only got so much political power. Radiant doesn't have you doing that. Radiant says we're all humans here. Since we're all humans, let's go on about the business of treating each other well as we know how to do. And if I'm out of juice to do it today, perhaps one of you people can carry while I rest, regroup, and get better. And it also leads to other ideas. If we are living from abundance, if the divine is not going to run out of time, skill, power, patience, or anything like it to make positive change, then we don't have an eternal hell. Purgatory or reincarnation might be called for, but the divine is not going to run out of energy to rehabilitate every problematic human that currently on the surface or about to be on the surface of the planet. We should likewise not be running out of power either. If we're not going to posit the existence of the divine, then as humans, we still step up. And so that is a look at the radiant extension of radical goodwill into the world around us. And if the world, this has to be counted as a good thing, even if our light is imperfect and human and flickering at the best of times. Anything that allows us to be more loving, more compassionate, and more willing to take time out of a busy day to make sure that people are living a little bit better, that has to be counted as a good thing. Now, the last type of duct tape that I'll go into right now is what I call temporal duct tape, which should involve time travel, or at least the ability to stretch a day out so that everyone has enough time to do what they want to do with the day, right? Wrong. Temporal duct tape happens when we are short on time. I wish it was a time stretcher, but no such luck. Temporal duct tape is usually there when we are running out of time. Now, we can't always get that time back, but we can minimize the little bit that we've got. There is one thing would be called the elevator speech. Now, the elevator speech handles when somebody is walking along and goes, "Hey, Grace, I've got a little less than 5 minutes while we're waiting for this elevator. What is a Unitarian Universalist anyway?" And you would respond with, "Ding, ding," the elevator's here. And that'll have to do for now. Short little cut of time. You do your best with what you got. And on we go, and on with the show. Your bit of spiritual duct tape could have some wonderful usage if you catch the right person. Grace could be talking to somebody who was spiritually wandering and might find something that does them very well within these very walls. So it's a pretty neat thing. Being able to, it's not an easy thing to do. A harder example of it is what I call the two rabbis effect. The two rabbis effect, now I have to do a little physical acting here, goes like this. There were two rabbis. One was old, one was very old, paper thin and frail. And the younger of the two rabbis said, "I've got to get all the knowledge that this guy's got tucked away on the subject of Judaism and get it out so I can make a book out of it. And my choices are either talk subject by subject and hope he doesn't keel over before he's done, or that he doesn't get exhausted, or do a broad-based thing, in which case the younger of the two rabbis said, "Okay, sir, I'm going to ask you to talk about this subject." Say it's mitzvahs, for example. But the trick is I'm going to balance on 1 foot. Tell me everything you can on the subject of mitzvahs before my balance goes and I have to put my foot back down. He figured that way he'd get a general overview. And he's doing it because he knows he doesn't have the time. He's hurting for time. But what is locked away from us is sometimes so precious that it's worthwhile to get the can opener out and try a little harder to use our time into something better. Duct tape, temporal duct tape, is a reminder to us that at some point we're going to have to do the job of being spiritual, not on a budget, not when we're hurting for time, which is one of the biggest coins that we have, but in a methodical, dependable way. I don't always trust the methodical. Precision has been, in one way or another, an enemy of mine through the early part of my life, at any rate. I don't trust it. But eventually, you're going to have to go deep. You're going to have to take the time, and you're going to have to do what is needed to make sure that you don't miss an opportunity to be the best human being that you can be. There will be a deeper call, and a call to do that well. And because of the stickiness, duct tape can get a little bit messy. Sometimes we need to have a clean transition of symbols when there's time enough to do the job right. The journey of 1,000 miles is not to be mistaken for a quick GPS map. You still have to do the travel. You still have to do the miles. But maps do help. Explanations help. Analogies help. In our time, we're probably going to be bundling or grouping ideas in many ways. That's one of them. Binding people together as a group so that we treat each other properly, and we underline the lessons that there's no social reason that we should be jerks to each other. We can always hope to export meaning into the world around us. I think sometimes we're doing that without realizing it on a day-to-day basis, that as we move through the world, we don't realize what sort of a flare and a color and a vibration that we make ourselves as we pass through this world. And there will always be time enough to spend until there isn't. I would like to thank you for the time that you've spent with me today.
Thank you, Bill, for that intriguing sermon. So now I'd like to talk a little bit more about this. Bill and Alec and I met to discuss this sermon before Bill wrote it up. And we touched upon some pretty interesting points. Duct tape is not a flashy or complicated product, but it's invaluable when you need it. Alec has defined tape, or did you find that on Google? Alec has defined tape as a pressure-sensitive adhesive. And apparently there is a tape for every purpose. You can't put Scotch tape on a pipe leak. You can't use duct tape on surgical cut. So each tape has its use, okay? Let's see. Jim Berg and Tim Nyberg, AKA the duct tape guys, have coined the phrase, "It ain't broke, it just lacks duct tape." Duct tape is an ideal material for a quick fix or connecting anything that needs to be held together. So what is the application if we talk about spiritual duct tape? At some point, many of us reach a juncture in our lives where we are compelled to ponder the what, the why, and the how of existence. We may experience a crisis, an epiphany, a sense of lacking connection or inner peace, or a desire for a deeper meaning or purpose. We may search for a way to address these concerns, in effect, finding a way to contain our questions and beliefs and binding them to our day-to-day existence. Now I'd like to open it up to the audience. In what situations do you reach for spiritual duct tape? And what do you consider your spiritual duct tape? Alec?
I thank you, Bill. I can't thank you to your face because you're behind me. But I really liked the part of your service. You mentioned the sometimes that it feels like there's a whole bunch of things that can take your attention, especially when it comes to big social issues. If it's like you mentioned, racism or homelessness or sexism, and it feels like there's all these battles we could be fighting, and how do we choose where to spend our time? You know, we've only got so much time and so much effort and so much attention even to devote to all these things that seem like they all really demand our focus and our efforts. And maybe sometimes it does need to be thought of as like a bundle, like you were saying, that there are you know, core things that ultimately we're all in this together, and there is no them, there's only us, and that us needs to be kind of as big as possible. But one other funny thing about duct tape is that as you may have noticed, unless you're very, very careful and quite skilled, the duct tape, as you try to use it more and more, it tends to get stuck to itself and then get stuck to your fingers, and then you've got sticky stuff all over your hands, and then everything's just gotten a bit of a mess, and nothing's exactly the way that you wanted it. But I have seen that there are some people that, and I suspect it mostly comes with practice, that seem to, mostly carpenters, you know, who can rip off a piece of tape and apply it on just perfectly, and there's no folds, no creases, and it's, you know, it's exactly where they want it to be. And it seems like magic to be able to use the, you know, to be able to use the duct tape in this way. And so maybe, and I think it's not just a matter of being careful and being diligent, it is just a matter of practice, and that getting into that sticky globby situation is kind of inevitable for those first few tries.
Thank you, Alec. So in a more pragmatic sense, what types of uses have you used for duct tape? We can get some call outs. Bill, you're an electrician. Have you used it? Yes. What do you use it for usually? Temporary hold stuff together. Okay. Anyone else? Practical use for duct tape? Dinah? Yeah, that's practical. Diana? Yep. Thank you. Thank you for that. So Diane, did you want to sum it up? Diane uses it when her garden hose breaks and she needs a waterproof adhesive to bind that for the time that she's going to use the hose. Okay, temporary fix.
I actually used it for an unconventional solution. We had a metal rack that had a sharp edge on it that I had cut myself on in the past. And so we put a layer of duct tape over it just to keep it from scratching people.
Yep. Really valuable stuff when you're in a pinch. Anyone else? Okay. As a banding. That sounds a little bit painful, but yes, to remove it. And then as a note to Bill's side note, why it was invented. So this woman invented it as a way to strengthen the ammunition boxes that were used by soldiers in World War II. So yeah, so very, very multi-purpose substance. Okay, so do we have any answers on what do you consider your spiritual duct tape? Bill, do you want to go?
I would have to say that probably the act of saying that when you've got this radical idea that says, if you really let your mind stay for a moment on the sheer fruitfulness of the universe, is white holes, black holes, stuff coming up out of nothingness into the now. All the particles, later on, all the matter, all the solid stuff. If the idea of importing meaning that says, if there is a God and he made us and he made those guys over there and over there and over there, then we're not going to wreck them on general principles. And if this life is a bit of a school, well, I've been in more than one school in my life. So if the next world is likewise a school with a different framework, then rather than worrying about getting it all right, perfect right now, the idea of saying, I am eventually going to grow into something fit, something worthy. And I can continue to do good work for the people around me. Rather than the idea that I'm a throwaway or something to be cast aside, feeling like a keeper. That's not only duct tape, but it's so good for my heart, I can't tell you.
Thank you, Bill. I think we reach for spiritual duct tape. Like I said, when we have some unanswered questions in our lives, or we need some support due to some experience that we're going through, some pain or uncertainty. I think spiritual duct tape for UUs are probably summed up in our principles. I think those are 7 spiritual duct tapes that we can turn to when we are going through something that is broken or needs some kind of care. So. All right, that being said, thank you so much for your participation. Our closing hymn now is Holy Now by Peter Mayer. Please feel free to sing as the Spirit moves you, and stand in body or spirit and join us in singing the hymn Holy Now.
When I was a boy, each week on Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word and consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. When I was in Sunday school, we would learn about the time Moses split the sea in two. Jesus made the water wine. And I remember feeling sad. Miracles don't happen still. Now I can't keep track, 'cause everything's a miracle. Everything's a miracle. Wine from water is not so small, but an even better magic trick is that anything is here at all. So the challenging thing becomes not to look for miracles, but finding where there isn't one. When holy water was rare at best, it barely wet my fingertips, but now I have to hold my breath like I'm swimming in a sea of it. Used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now. Child's face, say it's not a testament. That'd be very hard to say. See another new morning come, say it's not a sacrament. I tell you that it can't be done. This morning outside I stood, I saw a little red-winged bird shining like a burning bush and singing like a scripture verse. It made me want to bow my head. I remember when church let out, how things have changed since then. Everything is holy now. It used to be a world half there, heaven's second-rate hand-me-down, but I walk it with a reverent air, 'cause everything is holy now.
Oh, yes, Walt. Hello, Walt.
I'm at grade. Getting old and realizing that idea of not having infinite life anymore. But anyway, so I remembered that third part, the temporal duct tape. And I thought of the movie Life Itself. If you haven't seen that, it's a world-shaking, important movie that people so little value that you can actually pull it up online for free and watch the entire show. Imagine that, something very powerful being neglected by most everyone. But I'll just give you an essence or a portion that I would say from that show. This is very small compared to that show's message. When I was in junior high, I was sitting through yet another pep assembly, which I hated because I wasn't any good at sports. This kid beside me, I turned to him and regurgitated what my dad had been telling me, which is school spirit isn't if the team wins, but rather if you feel inspired by what you've been taught. The school spirit is about learning, not about sports and games that are being put on at the school. This kid turns to me, he says, "You changed my life." And I thought, what have I done? He said, "You've talked to my father." And I said, "I don't even know your father." He said, "Well, you must have, because he's told me that." And I said, "If anyone says it besides him, I will believe it and act on it. But I had to hear it from someone else besides my father. You changed my life." Well, I think I was a freshman and he was like 7th grade. I thought, oh, well, whatever. Every few years for the rest of my life, until my mom is now gone, she would interact with that kid who never left his area, a small rural farming area that I left. Whenever he'd see my mom every few years, he'd say, "Your son changed my life." I remember what he said about school, and it was a revolution in my life. And I'm not sure just what he actually did with it, but the message is that you never know what you say may have a powerful impact on the world. And so try to put out what you sincerely believe in your best thinking at all times, unless you want to be silly once in a while. Thank you.
I guess that's an example of your radiant duct tape. Spread it. Okay. All right. So the benediction today is Blessings for the Beginning by Karl Kopnick. The things to do have been done well for the most part. The people we need are in place, almost. We are ready, or as ready as we will be. Bless this most perfectly imperfect beginning. May we find the right people to do the right things as we go along. May we discover that what we needed was right here all along. And may we remember to stop and marvel at the magic of each moment as it floats by. Namaste, amen, and blessed be. Thank you, Bill and Grace, for sharing your valuable time and insights with us this morning. It is sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you again. If there are no further comments, we thank you for sharing your thoughts, and now invite you to join us in the parish hall for further worship fellowship. Thank you.